welcome to Stat Anatomy. In today's video, we're going to be talking about connective tissue. As you can recall, connective tissue is one of the 4 tissue types in the body. We have epithelial, connective, muscular, and nervous. Connective tissue is the most diverse and the most common inside the body because it's basically everything that is not lining something or muscle or nervous system. So all connective tissue comes from the one main stem cell, mesenchyme. So the mesenchymal cell can turn into 3 different types of connective tissue. Connective tissue proper, supporting connective tissue, or fluid connective tissue. And each of these break down into more groups. So in connective tissue proper, there's loose, which contains areolar, adipose, and reticular, or dense, which contains dense regular, dense irregular, and elastic. Supporting connective tissue has cartilage and bone. Cartilage breaks into hyaline, fibro, and elastic. Bone, compact and spongy. And fluid connective tissue only has one, which is blood. I'm going to grab some slides and we can discuss these further. So the first one we're going to talk about is fluid connective tissue, which is blood. I'm sure most of you have seen blood before. There's white blood cells, which are these. Red blood cells or erythrocytes, and then thrombocytes or platelets. Blood is within blood cells, and the function are transport of gases, immune control, just basically everything. Next, we're going to go into the connective tissue propers. So the first one, we're going to look at loose connective tissues. This one is areolar. It's in the subcutaneous layer under the skin. It surrounds organs. It's highly vascular. And the ground substance, which is kind of in between the cells, is kind of gel-like, and its function is to surround and protect organs, basically. Next, we're going to talk about reticular connective tissue, which is also loose. It's found in the stoma of lymph nodes, the spleen, the thymus, and bone marrow. So how I identify reticular is it looks like grapes. And this is kind of a more zoomed in than you'd often find, but it has a bunch of grape-looking bulbs on the cells and elastic fibers, which usually stain pretty dark. And its function is like supportive framework for those kind of squishy organs. Next, we're going to talk about adipose tissue. Adipose tissue has a bunch of adipocytes, which are cells with big globs of fat, which is going to function as storing energy and protect and cushion and insulate. This is found in subcutaneous layer and covers and surrounds some organs. It's kind of everywhere you're going to find areolar, you're probably going to find adipose tissue. Next, dense connective tissues, which is in the connective tissue proper. We have dense regular connective tissue. This forms tendons and most ligaments. Dense regular is good because it will stretch in one direction. So a tendon you don't want to stretch everywhere. You want to stretch one direction and continue to just stretch that one direction. So that's why all the cells and the fibers are running in one direction. You'll find nucleus and lots of fiber, fibro pink dye. And function is attached muscle to bone and bone to bone and is only in one direction. Elastic connective tissue kind of reminds me of if you took like a thing of ramen and printed it on a page. It's very squiggly. It has a lot of elastic strands. It's on the walls of elastic arteries, the trachea, brachial tubes, vocal cords, things that need kind of elasticness, stretch to it. And its, of course, function is stretching. Next is dense irregular connective tissue. It's similar to dense regular, but the bundles of the fibers go in all different directions so that it has stretch in multiple directions, which would be useful for the skin, and then the periosteum and perichondrium covering cartilage, and then organs. It's very surrounding the bone, the periosteum. Thinking about it, functionality. The bones are being pulled on in many different directions by the muscles that are attached to them. So it's very useful for them, for the different directions it needs to be pulled. Next, we're going to talk about supporting connective tissue. First, bone. So here's compact bone. It's made out of osteons, which form columns of cell after cell after cell. And in a different video, we'll go over more details, but it's very solid. mostly the exterior bones of the body, and it supports soft structures, protects vital organs, and provides levers for movement. We'll briefly touch on spongy bone, but just kidding, I don't have that slide. We'll skip spongy bone, but it's little trabeculae things of bone that with hollowness to make it lighter. Finally, we're going to talk about cartilage. There are 3 different types. They are connective tissue. This is hyaline cartilage. It makes up most of the fetal skeleton. It covers the ends of long bone when it's called articular cartilage. It's on the ribs and most of the larynx, trachea, and nose. It has the cells, and in between the extracellular matrix is very smooth, and that's how you'll be able to tell it apart from elastic cartilage. It has a very smooth extracellular space. Next is fibrocartilage, which is in your intervertebral discs, your pubic symphysis, and the menisci of the knee. It is a shock absorber and resists compression. That's why you're going to find it in places where you get a lot of force. It usually stains kind of a bluish color, and you can see that the lacunae, which is where the cells are kind of more spread out than the hyaline cartilage, and it has kind of a wavy fashion. Finally, we have elastic cartilage. It usually stains darker because of the elastic, but you can't always just guess based on the color because different sides are going to stain differently. It kind of has a rough or messy extracellular space, which is going to make it look different than the hyaline, and there's a lot more lacunae in the side. That's basically everything. Thanks. Elastic cartilage is found in the external ear and epiglottis. Don't forget that. But that's everything. Thank you for watching.